0.3. Here without the fun, where we playeth nothing but chance, and more chance. This are not thine elder matriarch, Stacy.
How's it going, everybody? Howdy, howdy. Romans, happy anniversary. I know I already put it in the chat, but happy anniversary. Feeling Objective, how are you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back. Zoom this out a little bit. What do you guys think about those of you on Twitch? Let's see. I change this. Okay, good. What if I double this size of this and then center to screen? Does that still look okay to you? Is that a good? Is that clear? I don't want it to. I don't want it to start getting blurry, but let's see if I can get this in a better spot. Hopefully that looks okay. It's not blurry or anything, is it? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yes, okay. I'm actively asking for feedback. Is this on Twitch? Is this blurry? If you guys can't, if none of you are on Twitch and you can't see, like if you're not on the desktop, then that's fine. But I want to confirm it. There we go. Yeah, the phone layout's slightly different, but that makes sense. Thank you, Pikmin. Appreciate it. How much Munda would a Necromunda if a Necromunda could Munda mend? That's a fantastic question. That's a fantastic question, Snyder. As much as it could possibly do, I'd say at least a hive's worth. That's how much Munda Necro would mund. Probably about a hive's worth. All right, let's see. I'm excited for the Exodites. I hope they make models outside of Kill Team. Hey, that's what they did with the Kroot. Like they started with the, if I remember correctly, if I remember the order of release, they did the Kroot Kill Team, and then later they did the expansion to like the Kroot Mercenaries army. So I wouldn't be surprised if we end up seeing a more expanded Exodite series of models. They also did that with the Corsairs, with the Eldar Corsairs, the Eldar Pirates. They started them out as a kill team, and then a couple years later, they's like, oh, by the way, here is the beginnings of an entire army. Now, it's not a huge amount of stuff in the army, but it is certainly more models, and they're pretty cool. So I would not be shocked if in a year or two, or maybe three, hopefully not that long, hopefully not a whole new edition, but I would not be shocked if we fairly quickly ended up with a larger number of Exodite models. I think that would be really freaking cool. That would be very, very cool. But yeah, if you guys are watching over on the Purple app over on Twitch, and you're watching the desktop, I did zoom in my screen some more, just so that you guys could have a closer zoomed in look to the model. And I want to confirm, I want to ensure that it is not that it doesn't look super blurry or anything like that. So if anybody's watching on Twitch, not on their phone, on the desktop, because I have the vertical layout enabled for the phone, but if on the desktop app, if it is not blurry, or if it is blurry, let me know. Trying to improve the experience on one platform at a time. Also, YouTube, if you're on YouTube and you're watching, you're seeing the same thing. Just hopping in, what chapter are you painting? This is a wolf spear, or it's supposed to be a wolf spear, which is a Primaris specific Space Wolf successor chapter. So the wolf spears did not exist before Primaris Marines were introduced, and these were the Guilliman took the unnumbered sons and took a bunch of them and made a Space Wolf based chapter using Space Wolf Primaris gene seed. And the Space Wolves were not super excited about Primaris, well, like a lot of legions were at the beginning, but they gave them tests, and they instructed them in the culture of Fenris, because that was the biggest thing for the Space Wolves. Like, you may have our gene seed, but you don't come from our culture. You don't come from Fenris. You don't have the Space Wolf, the Fenris, way of life in you, because that's where the Space Wolves get all of their inductees, is from the human tribes of Fenris. So they're bound together in a single human culture. And these guys, most of the Primaris were never born into that. So the Space Wolves had some hesitation there, and but the Space Wolf gene-seeded Primaris were able to prove themselves and learn and adopt Fenrisian culture, and so they were accepted as official members of the Rout. Even if they were, a different chapter. So these are the wolf spears, and still have a lot of work to do them. But they're light gray, and we're going with a semi-reflective armor. It's not supposed to be full on silver, but that's in kind of what it's ending up to be. But that's just how we learn. You don't want to paint the small firstborn? I got you. I understand that. I love the firstborn. Like I'm still a big fan of like all Space Marines of all sizes and varieties. But I totally understand. Successor, thank you, Jakey. Yeah, that's super cool. I'm digging the pattern. Yeah, they're pretty cool. So they're all light gray. The shoulder pads and the knee pads are black. Now this guy's got, giant single piece shin guard, so I just went with the whole thing is black. They have gold eagle with a In this case, this guy's got a gym in the middle. They've got white face plates. And then, yeah. The colors of the decorations are black, gray, white, and red. So when we put on some decorations in here, like on this shoulder pad, those are the colors that we'll be using. Hey, Cookcrafter, how are you doing? Welcome back on in. What's everybody been up to? How's everybody doing? I get you. I joined Warhammer just at the start of Primaris Space Marines. I got you. Yeah, no, that's fine. No worries. No, you're doesn't matter when you joined it. If you like it, cool. You're part of the community. That's all good. And it doesn't even matter what part of the hobby you're in. I mean, if you just like the game and you don't really like painting or anything like that, that's fine. If you like painting but you don't like gaming, well, you and I are more alike than not alike in that case. But that's also just fine. If you don't like either one and you just want to play the video games and you like those, fantastic. If you don't like any of those and you just want to read the books, fantastic. That is awesome. Glad you're here. You don't have to participate in any particular part of the hobby to be part of the Warhammer community, okay? It can be whatever part of the IP interests you the most. And you don't have to be pure about it. You don't have to, like, paint models or anything like that. Now, it's a big part of the hobby, but you don't have to, by any means. As long as you're having a good time, as long as you're enjoying it. And don't take yourself too seriously. This is a grim, dark, and ultimately quite silly world. That just part of the humor and part of the entertainment factor of Warhammer is the fact that it takes itself so seriously, or like everything does, but it's not serious by any means. So don't get it twisted. I was watching a story from War Boss Mad Sam earlier, and was it War Boss Mad Sam? No, it was someone else on TikTok. I can't remember her name. I regret not remembering her name, but she was told by some grognard that you're a hobby tourist until you've spent 10 years in the hobby and associated with Warhammer. That until you've spent 10 years consuming and participating in Warhammer, you're just a tourist. Like, what are you smoking, man? That's insane. What is your favorite little tidbit of lore that you find really cool? Ooh. Wait, let me make sure I'm not missing any other... got maybe some off-brand battle tech, I think. Have you heard of DreamPod 9? Yeah, DreamPod 9. That's not off-brand battle tech. That's heavy gear. That's a whole nother system. That's a whole nother world that's got role-playing games and miniatures games and video games. It's kind of died off, but I played the hell out of Heavy Gear 1 and 2 on PC. My youth pastor, the guy who got me into Warhammer, also played Heavy Gear, both the role-playing game and the miniatures game. So they've got pretty dedicated fan groups, and they're still making the miniatures game, and they just recently updated the rules recently and just started putting a lot of stuff in plastic. But yeah, that's most likely Heavy Gear. Got it a random lot of stuff, never heard of it, but looked like BattleTech. Yeah, 2016. Yeah, what you got are a bunch of gears. That's what they're called instead of mechs. They're called gears. They're not as tall as mechs, but yeah, yeah. If they're more boxy, they're probably northern gears. If they're more rounded, they're probably southern gears. Because the two main factions in heavy gear are north and south. The planet that heavy gear is called Terra Nova, if I remember correctly, and there's the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, and it's split in the middle by an equator of temperate and temperate forest and stuff like that. But the northern and southern hemispheres are both blasted deserts. And so those are some of the hey, Mommy Hammer, how are you doing, Mammy Hammer? But yeah, those are probably some of the factions. In fact, here, let me go grab something. Yeah, so this is one of the very first dioramas I ever did. This is a southern gear. I can't remember which gear it is, but it is a southern gear. No, it's the smaller one. It's not a Black Mamba. The Black Mamba is really big. This is one of the smaller ones. Cornball, I use a wet palette. This is the smaller southern gear that's in the starter set, and you can see I need to re-matte varnish this. You can still see shiny areas now that some of it's worn off. But yeah, so like I just built this. The rock back here is obviously, or if you can tell, it is bark. It's just layers of bark that I cut and plastered to the back to look like a cliff wall. Yeah, one of the very first dioramas I ever did. I was very, very proud of this, and I still keep him. I still keep him in my display case. That's where I just went to go grab him. Let's see. Feeling object. I'm working on more Nemesis Claw. What are y'all working on? Yeah, what are y'all working on? Did the lawn after work. Nice. Let's see. Okay, so let me say bad typo. Long time player, 3rd ed to 8th, coming back to the game at 11th. Where do I start? Got the rule book. Willard, if you're still here, I'm sorry I didn't see your message earlier, but I don't play. I have not played since 7th edition, so I would not be the person to ask of where to start. You got the rule book. That's a good spot. If you still have models, then you can figure out which models are still workable. But I don't have any advice in restarting the game, just because I have not played 40K in forever. I still like painting it, but I've just never. I don't play it anymore. Thanks for the lore drop. Sounds cool. Yeah. Do you prefer a dry palette or wet palette? I prefer a wet palette. Very cool. Awesome. Do you want the 2 models I got? I'll send them for free. It's the for the great content. Oh, thank you, Jakey. Sure. Why not? I've got a PO box. Let's see. Do I still have that listed? Yeah, if you ping me, I can send you my PO box. Yeah, that's fine. Discord's fine. Thank you. Willard, are you still here? Willard the Red? No, I don't suppose so, just because I was busy answering other questions, and people tend to have short attention spans on TikTok, but that's okay. That's just the format of the platform. So what's everybody working on? Mommy, are you still working on what you were working on yesterday when I almost got Mad Sam in trouble on the stream? I was hanging out at a hookah lounge and editing video for the Pink Non-Metallic Metal video, and I joined Matt Sam's group live, and as soon as TikTok saw smoke coming out of my mouth because I didn't hide it well enough, it said, we're restricting your live for controlled substances. It's like, okay, I get it. I understand. That's, I left the live immediately, and I totally get that. But yeah, that was 100% my bad. That was my mistake. And I should have known better. Oh well, you live and you learn. Won't be doing that again. TikTok, yeah, I mean, that's what you get when you're using AI to do all of your moderation. Instead of, having a human be responsible for the last step of enforcement. Yeah, exactly. You watch people drive on TikTok Live, and people are constantly making videos while driving on TikTok, even though it is directly against TikTok's terms of service, specifically called out, if I remember correctly. But nothing happens to them. Nothing happens there. That's fine. You can just only hope that it gets better, but I also don't want it to get better because that means AI is getting better. And it means AI is eating up more and more data. I'm not a fan of that personally. AI can do a lot of really cool, really important things like medical imaging, things like that. There's a lot of really important, good things that AI does and can do. But we shouldn't want it to do everything. It is not Carcharodons, your dad. It is wolf spears. I understand why you think it was Carcharodons, but no, it is wolf spears. So it is a successor chapter to the space wolves that was created when the Primaris came around, and kind of during the Indominus Crusade. I chose them just because I didn't want to paint a Space Wolf, and I had a Space Wolf model, and I was looking for some kind of palette cleanser model before we move on to something else. And so it's like, well, what successor chapters exist for the Space Wolves now? Because I knew they didn't have many. And then I found the Wolf Spears, and I have a shoulder pad that kind of matches the Wolf Spear shoulder pad. It's not perfect, but it kind of matches. So I said, okay, that's what we're going to paint. Yeah, give me a second. I see people's comments here. Give me a second. If I pay attention to the comments exclusively, I'll never get to paint. So let me paint a little here, and then I'll pop into I'll check out the comments, people's conversation there here in just a second. So we got to make progress, right? We got to make progress. Hey, if you can see what I'm doing, if I can keep it close, if I can keep it in camera, you can see how soft I'm being with the brush strokes. I'm using very little pressure here, almost no pressure. And that's what you have to do for like smaller details in order to really hit those details and really focus on them. You kind of, without overwhelming and completely blotting them out, you have to be really delicate and soft. Okay, let's see. Been into Warhammer more recently with the video games. I'm currently saving up for my first army. Oh, very cool, Quentin Apple. That's awesome. What army? I don't know the rules that great, but I'm loving the hobby as a whole thus far. That's fantastic. That's the most important thing. I've just gotten into Warhammer in the last 3 months, so I'm still learning everything. Hey, man, there's a lot to learn, so don't worry about it. Hey, Stephen Reber, how are you doing? Stephen Reber. SM looks great. Thank you. Yeah, it is a Wolf Spear Space Marine. Black Templars, cool. They are they've got the drip, that's for certain. They are quite drippy. Let's see. So we're going to keep on finishing up the gold here. We've almost got that to a decent basic non-metallic metal there. Let's take our pale yellow, which is probably the last color we're going to use on this non-metallic metal. This gold, but we'll see. Do the brightest points. There's a bunch of different ways of painting non-metallic metal, or non-metal metallics, depending on how you want to say it. But don't get too hung up on smooth blending or anything like that right off the bat. The most important thing is to learn and figure out where to place highlights and where shadows go on non-metallic metal, and like that's the most important thing to get right. Everything else you can work on refining and focusing and smoothing out blends. You can figure all that stuff out later. Most important thing is figuring out highlight placement so the eye can kind of read this as reflective material. And then contrast. Those are the two major things in non-metallic metal, is the contrast and the placement of highlights. And the placement of highlights is probably the most complex bit. So once that dries, that'll calm down a little bit. It'll be more like this, because when the paint is initially wet, it's very, very bright. And then we'll let it dry and see what it looks like after that. And there's probably going to be some adjustment that we need to do, and that's normal. Then we got the gem we're going to do in the middle. We're going to do that as red. What paintbrush do I use? Well, right now I'm only using a number 2 Golden Maple Kolinsky Sable. And the reason I'm using this is because they reached out, asked me if I wanted to review it, so they offered me a free set. I told them I would love to, but I'm not going to accept the free set, because if I accepted the free set according to TikTok's rules, I would have to do the review within 14 days. And for me, with a paintbrush, that's not enough time to get like a real good feel for a paintbrush, because I want to feel like what it's like when it starts being used, and then also what it feels like as it ages and as it keeps being used. Is it going to deteriorate? Are the hairs going to start falling out all of a sudden after 2 weeks? You know, what's going to happen? Does it maintain its point for a long period of time, or does it lose its point very quickly? So I thanked them for the opportunity, and then I told them I would do a review in my own time, and I went out and bought these. I went on TikTok shop and I bought my own set, so I wouldn't be beholden to anybody. And so far they've been pretty good. I do need to do the review video here in the next week or so. But yeah, they're pretty solid. Now, when I'm not using these, when I'm not, trying to test a new line, I mostly use synthetics for like 95% of my painting. And then I'll use fancier brushes after that. So when I do use the fancy brushes, it's usually Monument Hobbies, their Kolinsky Sables, or it's Game Envy's Kolinsky Sables, or it might be like Raphael or Rosemary and Co. But I usually only use the Kolinsky Sables for really delicate work, because they're very, very precise. And I want them to last, so I don't use them for everything. But I wanted to put these through their paces, and so far so good. They have lost their sharpness a little bit, but not to the point of not using them for detail. They just require maybe a little bit more conscientious shaping when I've reapplying paint to them. They're not quite snapping back into their sharpest form anymore, not as much as they were before, but they are still snapping back to a good amount, and they can be shaped in. What a good semi-cheap Kolinsky brush? Game Envy. Game Envy's Kolinsky brushes are very affordable, and they're good quality. And I say that because I use them, but I do have an affiliate link with them, but I say that primarily because I use them. I have an affiliate link with them, but just like with Monument, I wouldn't have an affiliate link with someone I don't use, and I wouldn't want people to use something I recommend if I didn't actively use it. So are there any brushes that go smaller, or would results be negligible for smaller as details go? So that's a really good question, Quentin. There are brushes that go much smaller than this. This is a size 2. There are brushes that go down to size 0 and 000 and double 0, 000, quadruple 0, 10 0. At that point, 10 0, there's just like a couple hairs and they're really short. But the reason I don't use those, and most miniature painters are not going to use those too much, is because the thickness of paint that we use is very much like watercolor, or maybe a little thicker than watercolor. And so when the paint is on your brush, if your brush is not also storing moisture in its belly, which is this thick part here, if it's not storing extra moisture here, the paint up here, when that starts to evaporate on your brush as you're working, if there's no moisture down in the belly, that can't get wicked up into the paint to keep it moist. And what happens with really small brushes, and is the paint will dry on the bristle very, very quickly. So there are much smaller brushes, but I would not recommend using them for painting. A size 1, size 2, size 3, size 4. Those are what I would recommend. But that's me personally. I know Richard Gray is an incredible painter, and he regularly uses much smaller sizes than size 1. He'll use like 00 and things like that. But his painting style is not the same. So it kind of depends on your painting style. The way he paints is very different. So the physical way that he paints is very different. Oh, thank you, Once Upon a Detail. I appreciate that. Are there any brushes other thing? You only use 0 series for glazing. I don't even use them for glazing. Like that's. Yeah, so for glazing, you want a lot of moisture. So yeah, I'll still use this or 1 for glazing, 100%. Now, if I'm painting eyes, then yeah, I might use a 0 or something like that. In which case, I'm painting a really small area very quickly, and then the paint won't dry. It won't have as much time to dry. But even then, I'd rather paint the eyes with something like this, just because I have more control. I firmly believe that you should practice using the biggest brush you can for as much as you possibly can. If you use a big brush for base coating, you're going to get base coating down very, very fast. It's going to be complete. It's not going to take forever. You're going to paint faster. But if you can also learn to maintain a sharp tip on your larger brushes, and you force yourself to learn that brush control and that hand-eye coordination, you could paint eyes with something this big very easily. Or size 1, size 3, I firmly believe that most people should be using a size 1 to 3 for most of their painting. But again, that is my opinion, and it is certainly not going to be forced on anyone else, and I'm not going to look down on anybody else for not doing that. But if I were to, if someone were to ask me, that is what I would tell them. Use the biggest brush you can. Yeah, yeah. Hey, Gus, how are you doing? My size 1 alive quickly. I do 99.9% of myself with a size 1. Yeah, no, that's fine. Let's see. I saw somebody. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try my first non-metallic metal on my Nemesis Dreadclaw. Any advice? Yeah. Keep in mind that non-metallic metal is going to look. The ugly phase of non-metallic metal lasts longer than the ugly phase of regular painting, because just the way that our brains tend to work, we don't really recognize what's happening with non-metallic metal until it's almost done, and then our brains start, oh, that's a reflective surface. So that our brains don't really understand that very well. So the ugly phase of non-metallic metal lasts much longer until you're really used to it, and then you can kind of like, okay, I know where this is based on previous experience. I know where in the process I am right now, and then it won't look as bad. But that's probably the most frustrating thing about non-metallic metal is the ugly phase lasts forever. It lasts a really long time. So don't get discouraged. If your ugly phase lasts a while, that's normal. In fact, your non-metallic metal's not going to look like metal to you until it's done. And even then it might not. So make sure you ask other people, get other people's opinion on, hey, I did this non-metallic metal. What do you think? Does it look reflective to you? Get other people's opinion. And fortunately, we have a Discord for that, but you also have, hopefully you have people around you who you can ask as well. So the first thing is, the ugly phase of non-metallic metal lasts a much longer time. It's going to look like crap until it's done. And that's just the facts. non-metallic metal doesn't look right if different areas are reflecting light, or if the same close things, if things close to each other are not reflecting light in a similar way, it's not going to look right. So, for example, you see on this angle, I painted these highlights as if the light source is coming from this angle. Okay? From back behind. And I painted these from the angle behind. And these from this forward angle here. And this from this other angle here on the forward. But it's best seen here. Do you see how the highlights are placed so they're in coordination with one another from this viewing angle? So light comes up through here, travels up the knee and goes up here, but then also matches here, and it travels down here on the back of the leg and then down the back of the calf, and they're all kind of coordinated together. That is what I'm talking about. You know, when you start doing your highlights, and for non-metallic metal, you should probably just start with one light source. But this is what's the most difficult part about learning the lighting in non-metallic metal, is figuring out how light bounces off of these types of surfaces and what looks most consistent. And that's the thing that most people struggle with the most. Let's see. Is that a Black Templar? It is not a Black Templar, Cooper. It is a Wolf Spear. Hey, Tales of the Tabletop, how are you doing? Now once I get done painting, is it necessarily using a top coat afterwards, or is it not recommended? It is absolutely recommended to use a top coat, Quentin, just because your models are most likely going to be used in gaming. So if they're used in gaming, then the paint will wear off, because all our fingerprints will act like sandpaper to this paint, and finger oils are acidic. So they'll eat away at the paint. So varnishing is really important. So just look at this, like this primer here, this base coat, this is bare plastic. I primed this model and hit it with a basic paint. Obviously I'm gonna paint it again, but all this rubbed off here is just from one of my fingers, my index finger rubbing on the back of that every now and then. And so my fingerprints have actually worn that paint away, and you can see more. And that's what will happen to your miniatures. It may not happen as quickly because there's more layers of paint, but if you don't put some form of a sealant, and people are going to use and move your models around on the table, you need to seal and protect your model. White Moth said, hey, White Moth, how you doing? Loving it. Thank you. Size 4 and 2 are my work horses. Absolutely. They're fantastic. Feeling objective. Do you have any other questions or more specific requests for like feedback or anything? How do you advise people upgrade to a competitive painting level? I'm still working on that once. I'm still working on that once upon a detail. I'm still working my way up. I've gotten silvers in a couple small painting competitions, but if you watch something like Miniature Masters, like the first episode that just came out last Wednesday over on Squidmar, incredible show, by the way. They did a really, really good job. I'm nowhere near those guys. I'm nowhere near them, and they're what I would consider top-level competitive painters. But I would say for competitive painting, you need to put more time into the model. You need to put more time into the paint job. You need to think more about your composition and the story that's being told and how you're dragging attention around the model. So, for example, this was not really painted for competition, but I had some of it in mind. This is a Deathwatch Marine that I painted, and I had a whole lot of fun painting him here on stream. So you can see in between the guy that we're working on now and this guy, there's a lot more refinement put in here. The blends are really smooth. They're much, much smoother. There's been a lot more work put into this than the other guy. Now, the other guy, I can put this amount of work into it, but it's a lot of, it's a lot of working on it again and again and again. Yes, Deathwatch is a detachment of Space Marines that have been seconded to the Ordo Xenos of the Inquisition. So they are Space Marines that either as punishment or just as part of their duty, they have been temporarily sent away from their chapter to work directly for the Inquisition. And they all wear Mark 8, generally all wear Mark 8 black armor, and they have one shoulder pad that is their still painted for their original chapter. Now, we haven't designated a real chapter for this guy yet. I keep forgetting to do that. But yeah, the Deathwatch are Space Marines who have been seconded to the Ordo Xenos. Yeah, exactly. But here, you can kind of see that the way I've got red here, and I've got red here, and I've got his eyes red, and then I've got red up here. I'm drawing a line of red here to try and focus attention in on the face. Now, looking at this guy, I didn't really do a really good job of centering attention on his face. This red is brighter than his eyes here, so this is kind of distracting. This is, if we look at the brightness of all this, this is much brighter than here, and there's nothing else in here to draw attention back to the face. So this is going to grab more attention away from the face. So compositionally, this is not great, but I can kind of tell you a little bit about what I was thinking. Yeah, Once Upon a Detail, generally, because of our evolutionary development, we take cues about people from their faces. So the human natural reaction is to look at something's face. So if you can do everything you can to focus attention on the face and the upper chest, that's where most people's attention is going to be. So that, to start out with, his knife fell off. Aww. All right, we're gonna have to reglue that. But yeah, generally the attention is where the face is where attention's going to be. So you do want to focus on that. And if you can figure out ways to draw attention to the face, that helps you a lot. It really depends on what the Deepkin model is. If there's something else about the Deepkin model that you want to emphasize and draw attention to, then yeah, you could absolutely make that choice. But by default, the face is where most attention is going to go, and that's generally where you want attention to go. However, if there's something else about the story that you want to draw attention to, and it's away from the face, then yeah, you can draw attention that way. Just be aware that you're going to be working against human. You're going to be working a little against human nature, a little bit. But that's fine. Like there's different ways to do that. Okay, I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Because everything about that model, even the cloak and everything, the cloak made out of wave, all that is bringing attention, is sweeping attention up to the apex of the wave, or the cloak, and that's him. he is the center of attention because everything, all the lines of the model is all pointed up towards him and guide the eye towards him. So he is the focus, and generally the eyes and the face are gonna be what the that focus is gonna be on. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Quentin, and are there different types of top coats? Yeah, there's
Wizard is
generally
never late, Frodo Baggins. Nor is he early. He arrives
precisely what it means to. Jack of Clubs, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in. How's it going? I hope your stream went well. What were you working on? We were just working on this this palette cleanser marine is a wolf spear. It's one of the very few Space Wolf successor chapters. Just slowly working on him and answering questions about all kinds of different stuff. Well, welcome on in. Orcs, nice. Is it the Armageddon orcs? How are those going for you? I picked up some of the Armageddon Space Marines. I didn't pick up the whole box though, because I don't need more. But I wanted the heroes from it, so I picked up those. Austin, I totally understand that. Totally understand that. Yeah, so compositionally you'd make his face and areas around it a bit brighter. Yes. Yeah, that's generally how you're gonna draw attention through value. Would you recommend speed paints? I've never used them or heard much about them. Yeah, if you want to know more about speed paints and contrast paints, that style of painting, that's perfectly legitimate and perfectly fine. I'd look up painting with contrast on YouTube. Juan Hidalgo Miniatures does a lot with contrast. There's a lot of other people that do lots of contrast style painting using things like speed paints and contrast paints from Games Workshop. They all function very similarly. So yeah. Now, if you're just looking to get color on your models, then yeah, contrast paints, speed paints are fantastic for that. If you're looking to like actually learn to paint and learn how to control the light and all that stuff, then no, I would not recommend contrast paints as your primary source of painting. Because nothing about the contrast painting method teaches you how light works and how color theory works, stuff like that. So, you know, it really depends on what your purpose is, and neither purpose is more worthy than the other. So it really kind of depends on what your reason for painting is. Are you just trying to get models on the table and you just want them to look decent, and that's the most important thing? Perfect. Contrast paints, speed paints, that's gonna do you solid. If you want to do that and you also want to learn more about painting, then you could start with those, but they're not going to teach you much about actual painting. Like, I don't mean actual painting. They're not going to teach you much about controlling light and value and things like that. Which regular, quote unquote, regular painting will force you to learn a lot more of that. And again, either way is perfectly fine. Let's see. Would you recommend speed paint? The non-metallic metal looks good. I'm so scared to dive into it. I wouldn't be scared, Austin. I would, give it a shot. Like, what's the worst that's going to happen? It doesn't work out. Okay, so now you just repaint the model. You just slap metal paint over the non-metallic metal, and then you're good. You cannot destroy your models with paint. Painting your model does not destroy it. If you mess up painting, that's fine. You're not gonna mess it up. You can repaint over it. And you can strip the paint off the model and just start over. That's all fine. I've heard they can be bad for the equipment due to the chemicals in them from other brands. I haven't heard too much about that. What equipment are we talking about? If you're talking about the brushes and stuff, yeah, I mean, if you don't wash your brushes, if you don't rinse your brushes out fairly often, then any of the acrylic paints is going to ruin it. Like when I'm painting, I don't like if you see me put paint down and then I come off the screen, I am rinsing my brush out and then reapplying paint to it. I am never going straight back to my color and then reloading that and then coming back. I am rinsing my paintbrush out every single time I come off camera there. And if you don't do that, then yeah, even with speed paints and contrast paints, they're going to dry inside the bristles, and that's going to ruin your brush fairly quickly. You shouldn't be using speed paints and contrast paints on wet palettes. They don't need that much dilution, and if they do need dilution, you should be using their medium, not water, because they're not chemically they're not the same. They're not going to thin down the same way. They're not water-based acrylics. They are slightly different. So you shouldn't be putting them on your wet palette. You should be putting those in a dry palette of some sort, generally speaking. That's my understanding, and I could be wrong. Yeah, there's no reason to use. The reason to use a wet palette is because you want your paint that you're putting down to last multiple hours. So you get some of your paint out and you use little bits of it to apply here and there all over your model. But with contrast paints, you're not applying little bits and pieces of contrast paint. You're slathering the particular parts of the model with that contrast paint. You're not using small amounts of it generally. So there's no reason to use a wet palette, because a wet palette is there to keep a small amount of paint wet for longer so you can use it in small amounts on the model. You're not doing that with contrast paints. Contrast paints aren't generally applied that same way in my experience. Now again, I could be wrong, but in my experience that they're not usually used that way. So a wet palette doesn't really serve much use for contrast paints. Does that make sense? And again, this is, take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. I don't use contrast paints very much. I don't use speed paints very much, just because I want to be in more control of the painting process. So, I'm not the most knowledgeable. So definitely take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. Don't just, it's not gospel. What are some good washes? I just got an airbrush, but I want to get better. Oh, cool. Lot of the paint lines have really good washes. The washes that I prefer are Army Painter washes. I like those a lot. Monuments washes are pretty good. Citadel's washes are pretty good. But Army Painter, I think it has some of the best. Yeah. But almost every line is going to have decent washes. Okay, yeah, Black Legion's good. Black Legion's good stuff. Okay. Oh, I just glided straight through an ad break. Shoot. Sorry, everybody. I know I just went really quiet there. I just kind of locked in on these details up here, trying to pick them out. Everybody doing okay? We're gonna go into our community spotlight here in just a second, but I kind of, like I said, I just kind of got locked in on painting these breathing tubes, or these power cables for the mask. Alright, so for those of you who maybe this is your first time here, welcome on in. We are going to do our community spotlight here in just a bit. Community spotlight is something we do every Friday, where we go through our Discord and and we look at models people have posted and the works in progress and the completed models channels, just so we can brag on them a little bit and show everybody, you know, how cool the people's projects are who are in the community. And if anybody asks for feedback, we can collectively give feedback. We don't give unsolicited feedback. So if somebody wants feedback, they have to specifically ask for it. But we just, we want to give a place for the community members to show off what they've been doing on stream and show off what they've been working on. There's a lot of really cool pieces. I think we're going to have a pretty good community spotlight this week. So we're going to get into that here in just a second. Trying to get some clarity and detail on the belt buckle here. Playing the new Doom DLC and enjoying the wonderful stream. Oh, fantastic feeling. That sounds awesome. Can I join the Discord if I have any other questions? Oh, absolutely. Just check the LinkedIn in my bio, and you'll see a link to the Discord. Love to have you. Anybody is welcome to hop in, as long as you're not gonna like spam us with porn or anything like that. In which case I will very quickly ban you. Yeah, the Discord is open. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for the gifts. I really appreciate all of you, all of the gifts so far. Thank you. Okay. Let's set this down and go open up the Discord. Discord. And we'll start out with completed projects because there aren't as many of those. Okay. Oh, this is gorgeous. Who did this one? Oh, Cooked, this is yours? Are you still here, Cooked? Yeah, we're gonna open a few of these so we can go through them easily here. Just so we can easily navigate through them. With a lot of really cool pieces, a lot of really inspiring pieces here. Okay. I don't know if Cooked Crafter is still here. I don't think I saw a message of them going to sleep, but I could be wrong. But here is a diorama they've done, a nighttime diorama of some very strange, creepy looking monster. It is really cool. But man, look at that. Love the scatter on the ground. That looks like it might be coconut fibers or flocking. And it's all been painted. You've got the moon up here, the clouds. The OSL is fantastic. This is super moody. Love how painterly this is. You see how you see how many brush strokes there are here? Look at this. Look, you see how many brush strokes there are? This is not like clean painting. This is rough and what a lot of people call painterly. So you can see brush strokes, but it's all there to fit the vibe. It all adds visual texture to make it look more interesting. Here's from the front. Man, that's a cool Khopesh style sword. Got the lantern. You could really nice OSL. This is really impressive, Cooked. This is really, really impressive. Yeah. Love the warmth and see how it's the orange mixes in with the skin tone to kind of turn it slightly green and less vibrant as the light moves away. But then down here on the metal surface, it is a much brighter reflection because it's a cleaner, more pure reflected image of the light source, as opposed to this is a incredibly like light bouncing off of skin is an incredibly diffused reflection of the light source, technically speaking. That's really, really nice. And you've got the moon back here and lighting up the back. That's one thing with miniatures. Everything you're painting is gonna even if you say it's got one light source, it's gonna actually have a couple. It's gonna have at least two, because when we're painting, because we're painting a three-dimensional object, we can't leave anything. We can't make use of negative space. So, like with a canvas painting or a digital painting, if you paint someone's face half lit and the other half just black, well, it's a two-dimensional thing. So our brains fill in that missing, and it works because there's no physical features. It's a flat plane that you're seeing, so the brain fills that in. But with a three-dimensional model, if you paint this half and you leave this in black shadow, I can still see your features. I can still see the sculpted features here, and it just looks unfinished because it doesn't have any color on it. But because of that, you always have to have some kind of some kind of fill light to make those features look like they're being either in shadow or being lit by a different light that's much softer. You can't use negative space in the same way with miniatures that you can with two-dimensional painting, flat canvas painting or digital painting. So everything's going to have a couple light sources, and we've got one light source here and then a second one introduced up here that is much more obvious and dramatic, and we see the interplay of light. This is really, really nice. And look how it's coming off the trees. This is really cool. I am super impressed, Cooked. I am super, super impressed. Very nice. All right, so this is who was this? This was their first mini, if I remember correct. Yeah, this is Jakey's. Embarrassed. No, second fully completed miniature, and it is a Jedi of some sort. This looks great. I love the ground. I love how varied the color is on the ground. I like the colors you've got everywhere else. The only thing I was going to say is if you want this to have a little bit more drama to it, you need darker shadows. Darker shadows in the folds, things like that. But this is fantastic. This is really well done. It's nice and clean. There's not a lot of blotchiness to it. You've done really well with this. And I love how vibrant and varied the base is. And it's a green lightsaber, which is the best lightsaber color. So, you know. Yeah, Jakey, this is very nice. All right, I think this is from Count Zacula. Count Zacula's been working on Emperor's Children army, and he tends to work in more grimdark, so highly textured and somewhat desaturated color tones and highly textured paint jobs. So this is nice. I like this. I like this purple with the gold. That works really well. I love how distressed the gold looks. That looks really nice. It's nice and dirty and neglected, just like someone who's kind of not focused on keeping up presentation. Love the skin, the skin effects that you're doing with, especially with the that tattoo. The skin effects, you're getting so good at those. I remember when you were working on the flayed one, or a Necron army. That flayed skin effect is working really well here on the Slaanesh as well. Very nice. It looks so gross. Dirty blade. Some really nice corrosion in some of these mechanical parts. You got a bit of a water resin pour down here for mucky water. That looks great. This is really, really nice. Anybody have any thoughts on any of these so far? 'Cause I'll just keep talking about what I like about them. They're really, really nice. There's obviously things in every single one of these things that can be improved, because every model can be improved. But again, we're focusing on the cool factor. Sons of Fulgrim. I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's Sons of Fulgrim or not. Did Count Zacula say? No. They might be on his TikTok or his Instagram saying which group it is. That's a really good question, Once Upon a Detail. I think this is probably freehand, but it could be a decal that he painted over. But it looks really good. Like, it's really, really well faded. It looks very much like a tattoo. That's really, really nice. Maybe if we see Count Zacula in here later, we can ask him. Sometimes he pops in later. Sometimes he's just too busy. Somebody could also tag him in the Discord and ask there, and then get an answer there. All right, so who was this? Gus. Gus, the regular guy. Look at this. This is the new Armageddon Captain, I think, reposed or with the new alternate options. Really nice. Love the detail. Love the non-metallic metalwork. The glow looks really nice. Jealous of this glow, especially the coils. The coils look fantastic. The decal work here is wonderful. Really good, nice and crisp. It blends into everything else. So, like, I'm not seeing anything right off the bat other than how sharp it is. That's the only thing that's cluing me into this is most likely a decal. It's just because of how sharp the edges are. It's very hard to do with a paintbrush. This is really, really good. Very nice. Back of the cloak looks really nice too. Angels of Death Kill Team Captain. Thank you. Well done. This looks great. Love the gradients on the cape. That looks really nice. This is a very, very, very nice clean paint job. Really well done. Now is this a decal, Gus? It looks like a decal, but I'm just curious. It's several decals. Okay, so you layered several decals over each other. That's impressive. Really, really, really nice, man. You haven't aged it yet. Got it. Yeah, that's why it looks so pristine. That looks fantastic. Really good job. Nice non-metallic gold up here. Nice freehand with the Gothic script. Very good. Gothic lettering. Very nice. Leather looks great. Good job. All right, so here we've got some Ultramarine Reavers. Who did this? This was Saber. These are cool. I really like the Reaver models. They're like just really much angrier, deadlier scouts, but for Primaris. But they're not actual scouts because the Primaris have actual scouts. But the Reavers are just more like infiltrator, assassin type Marines. They're really cool. Love the masks. These look good. I love I love the blue with the more stealthy black. They don't appear too busy. The paint jobs are not too busy. It's nice and straightforward. There's not too much going on here. I will be honest, I think maybe it's on the brink of feeling too busy. But it's not quite there. You were saying it as I sent it. Thanks. The letters on the pauldron are brushed though. Nice. Yeah, but these look great. Nice, solid paint jobs. Excellent. All right, we're going to pop back to painting real quick while I bring up the works in progress. Thank you all for submitting your completed projects. Now we have the works in progress stuff. Ooh. There we go. Let's get some of these open here. Those are fun. All right, here we go. Let's zoom back up to the top here so we can take a look. Okay, so first thing we're going to take a look at is some stuff from Royal Paxton, who's just working on some battle tech. Yeah, it's a nice conversion, turning this mech into more of a melee mech. It's great use of some Stormcast Eternal bits from Age of Sigmar. Looks like it fits in pretty darn well for this scale. That looks nice. Nice straightforward conversion work. A little bit of surgery, a little bit of cutting here and there to get this ready for the hand. But that looks nice. Let's see. Here is it in progress in painting. And he said in the campaign, all of the players' mechs they're all working together against like some NPC type forces. So all the players' mechs are kind of an olive drab green. So he's sticking with that. But this is a good start. I think this looks cool. And the shield and the sword still look like they belong. More or less. They look kind of fancy. Yeah, Dart Minis. Yeah, you can pop into the Discord and share your works in progress, your completed stuff. If you do, make sure to let me know that you've shared some. That way I can go back in and grab it. Just bought the Armageddon 11th edition box. Your first minis. Oh, fantastic! That's awesome. Which side are you going to focus on first? Space Marine or Orcs? Which one are you going to do first? Now this is a work in progress from Justin. Come on. Look at that. That's gorgeous. What is this from? It's kind of a pointed ears. Looks like glowing rocky growths. I don't recognize what this is from. Love the non-metallic metal. The sculpted in texture of the shirt is really nice, and then the colors you're using to paint the shirt and the overall also really good, really nice. The skin is fantastic. I think the skin looks really good, but I'm not super. What's the Discord, good sir? It is in my profile. It's in my LinkedIn. There's a link to my Discord in the LinkedIn, or you can find a link to the Discord in my Twitch panel. Are there any Gene Stealers in Necromunda? Absolutely, yes. There are many Gene Stealer cults, or one large Gene Stealer cult, or there's multiple different gangs that are kind of loosely affiliated. But yes, there are Gene Stealers in Necromunda in almost every single hive. There are even full-on regular Gene Stealers, like not Gene Stealer cult. There's full-on regular Gene Stealers, although they're horribly mutated in Hive Secundus. In fact, there was an entire box of Necromunda that was released called Hive Secundus, and it focused entirely on gangs and spires and tech retrieval gangs going into Hive Secundus and trying to facing these horribly mutated gene stealers. So yeah, they are absolutely on Necromunda, both in the cult variety and the horribly mutated. Like, they're so horribly mutated that their psychic call to the Tyranid fleets is so is warped, and it's warped to the point that the Tyranids are avoiding Hive. They're avoiding Necromunda because of just how incredibly horribly warped and mutated these gene stealers are. So ironically, these horribly mutated gene stealers are keeping the Tyranid fleets away from Necromunda, the planet. So it may never have to deal with a Tyranid invasion. As long as the gene stealer cults don't rise up effectively, and as long as those horribly mutated gene stealers stay in Hive Secundus. Which is pretty impressive. Pretty interesting. Alright, so this bust is fantastic. See, this is really, really nice, Justin. Doing the orcs might sell the Marines to get more orcs. Hey, that's fair. Yeah, if you can find someone to trade the Marine half for the orcs, yeah, do that. Or just sell the Marines and buy more orcs. Absolutely. I bought the Marine half off of eBay, and then I sold the stuff in the Marine half I didn't want and kept the stuff I did. I almost made my money back. Of course, I found a really good deal, but I almost made my money back. Not quite. I made about half of it back, which is really nice. All right, this is fantastic. Love the non-metallic metal. Love to see when this is done. This is awesome. All right, so here we've got Leagues of Votann, and this is from Angsgir. Angsgir, very nice. Love Leagues of Votann in orange. I think that works really orange and gray. I think that works really well for them. Love the bare chest, the pebbly head. Since this particular Votann is of that type of Votann clone that was created with a tougher skin. Very nice. You've isolated those bumps and lumps of the thick cartilage or the thick bone and callus protection on the skin. You've isolated those really well. Love the little red on the tips of the ears, the nose, around the mouth. It gives it a lot of life. Really, really nice. The red hair looks really good. Very nice. I'm liking this a lot. Here's from the back. The leather's got in a good spot. Nice. I can see where a lot of things can be continue to be refined, but overall this is really solid. Are there any? I got some old Mordheim minis recently because the store me is playing a game soon. Wish GW would make Mordheim again. It was great. Yeah, there's a part of me that wants Games Workshop to make Mordheim again, but there's also a part of me that wants them to stay away from Mordheim. And if they're gonna do something like Mordheim, just do it in Age of Sigmar, and let that be that. Because Mordheim has been left alone for so long that the community around Mordheim has all of the rules, and they're pretty darn good at developing new rules. But it's a closed game system. It's a completed game, so we don't have to worry about new additions changing or breaking things. Things are steady and unchanging enough that we can make house rules if we need to. But then we don't need GW to make the models, because there are tons of companies out there that make models that could be used for Mordheim, and there's also 3D printing. So if you've got somebody who's got a 3D printer and they do a decent job, you're set for Mordheim models. But City of Sigmar, and the Hexbane Hunters and stuff like that, they're all fantastic for Mordheim. My Witch Hunters warband for Mordheim is made out of is made out of City of Sigmar models, and they look fantastic. So, you know, I totally understand the desire for Games Workshop to do that kind of a game again, and even if it's very similar to Mordheim, or even if they took it up and they dropped it into a world, an alternate world, just like they have with Blood Bowl. If they make it like a splinter universe of Mordheim, or even if they leverage the success of the old world and put Mordheim as, you know, a branch off of the old world, I'd be totally down for that. But I don't think they need to. It'd be cool, probably, but they could also completely ruin it. But that's just my opinion. And I certainly, if you're playing Mordheim, I applaud you. It is a fantastic game. As broken and silly as it is in a lot of ways, it's great. Oh, this looks great. Oh, look at that. Look at that knight. Let's see, whose was this? This was Stuvli's. Love the silver and red and the gold. Really nice. Love the texture on the paint. Good. This poor Genestealer is going to get squished. Melta, Gatling, Big Cannon. This thing's got the DACA. Like, this is an Orc's wet dream right here. This thing's got the DACA. Jakeadoodle, just scrolling and saw this. Never heard of any of this universe. Can you give you Spark Notes? Yeah, so most of this stuff is in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. So if you've seen the game Space Marine 2, it's that universe. If you watched the Secret Level episode with Space Marines, it's that universe. The universe it was originally a tabletop game, but it is extended out into books, like novels, basic TV shows or basic video, YouTube shows, and then also video games. Henry Cavill is currently working on developing a TV show equivalent with Amazon and Games Workshop to make a Warhammer 40,000 TV show. And yeah, it's a world, it's a sci-fi world that's just full of nothing but war. There are no good guys. Everyone is awful. There's no, it's all morally gray. It's all horrible. You would never want to live there, but the models are really cool. The stories are really cool. And a lot of people experience this through the video games, but a lot of people still play the tabletop game. And with the tabletop game, you are putting together models like this and painting them to the best of your ability, and then you get a bunch of these guys and you make an army out of them, and you kick your opponent, your buddy's butt with them. You kill your buddy's army with your army. What is your favorite Necron model? Ooh, I hope it's an Eisenhorn show. That'd be really cool. If I were to be in the universe, what faction would you be in? If I had control of it, Votann, probably. If I had control of it. But if I was in this universe, I'd most likely just be dead. I'd most likely be someone's slave or a casualty or a slave of some sort. That's the most likely. There are trillions and trillions of humans in Warhammer 40,000 because the Imperium of Man rules over a million worlds, and then most of those trillions of humans are in wet workhouses, sweatshops, just the worst possible working conditions with no human rights, nothing. And it's not a world I'd want to live in. I wouldn't worship. I would not wish living in this world on my worst enemy. This is a Primaris Space Marine of the Wolfspear chapter. I had this is kind of a palette cleanser mini that we're doing here. and I had a Space Wolf Primaris that I didn't want to paint as a Space Wolf, so I decided to do Wolf Spears instead. But yeah, I'd most likely, I'd probably want to be in the Votann. They're Space Dwarves, and obviously he's looking good. Thought he was a Relictor for a minute there. Yeah, no, I totally get that. No, he's just a regular old Wolf Spear. All right, let's pop back to our community spotlight. Yeah, this is really nice. I love this knight. Now, if you were to look at that Space Marine that I just showed, he'd probably be about as tall as this thing's this knee on the tabletop. So this is a giant stompy robot called a knight, and it's a heavy unit in the tabletop game and also in the computer games. This is really cool. All right, let's move on. Next. Oh, another Battletech. Woo, look at that. Man, that is bright. That is eye-punchingly bright. How did you get the green this bright? Oh my god. That green is so punchy. Now this is a kind of an example of using super bright colors without the model appearing overly busy. So you've got one primary color with some highlighting. You've got an accent color, and then you've got your punchy other color in here. That normally, imagine this green being half of the model, it would just be visually overwhelming, right? It would just be completely visually overwhelming. But the fact is that you've got one main color, an accent color, and then your punch color here, which is another type of accent color. It prevents this from being too visually overwhelming, even though the colors are incredibly impactful. That's really cool. All right, so let's next do like, oh, look at this. This is the Helldivers. Who was doing this? This. Gus the regular guy. Yes, that's right. That's awesome. The Helldiver Scouts. That's really cool. Great job, Gus. These guys are looking really good. Nice, clean black armor with the yellow, the yellow accents, just like for the Helldivers. Great job. All right, and this Firstborn Space Marine attack bike with a heavy Melta double bolters here. Love the light source. I think this is this red painted on, or is there like I don't see any red over here, so I think this is painted on red. So really nice lighting, kind of an atmospheric lighting. Yeah, it's painted on because this red here, if this was an actual light source, we'd see it in the silver. We'd also see it right here and right here. So this is all painted in. This is really nice. Love the damage. Got some weathering and damage here. They're using slate for the base. The jumping off the side. That's awesome. These are really good. These are in a really good spot. Can't wait to see this thing finished. Yeah. Gus did a really good job with the yellow. And look at this non-metallic yellow here. This gold. This is looking really nice too. Really good job, everybody. Really impressed. Yeah, it's going to OSL for lava under the bike. Nowhere near done yet, though. I got you once upon a detail. Yeah, really well done. Good job. I see mold lines, though. Why do I see mold lines? See, since you're here, I can harass you a little bit. You're going to do a cool OSL and you're going to leave mold lines on the model? It doesn't matter if you didn't build it. You're painting it. I will blame Mr. Dietz. I will blame Mr. Dietz. This is a disgrace. This is awful. No, this is going to look great. Even without the mold lines, it'll look really good, but those mold lines kill me, man. This is the first model he ever built. Okay, so it's a learning experience. Learning experience. Gently give him a gentle ribbing about mold lines and explain that it doesn't matter how cool the paint job is. A cool paint job will not get rid of mold lines. So if he's gonna give you a cool model to do a good paint job on, he's gotta up his game. He gotta lock in on the assembly. Gotta lock in. It was painful to paint over them, but I was halfway through when I noticed. Oh, okay, I got you. That's so sad. But overall, this is a really good start. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it finished. Really nice. Okay, let's pop back to painting here real quick, just so that I can close these off, and then I want to see if anybody else has added any more photos, because a couple people were asking if they could, and I don't want to ignore them. So give me a second here. Any more? No more in works in progress, and we have two more sets of Space Marine stuff in the completed models, so we're going to pull those up. Thank you all for adding those in here. These look really cool. And I think that'll be everything that's in here so far. If you guys are in the Discord, don't forget to say hi to the people that have just popped in. Make them feel welcome. And here we go. We're gonna pop over back to the screen share. Does Warhammer have a proper strategy game like for Steam? Yeah, they've got a couple. Dawn of War. I believe they just remastered or getting ready to remaster Dawn of War. But then there's some turn-based ones. One is called Armageddon, and it is a hex-based. It's kind of like Hearts of Iron, if I remember correctly, or Panzer. It is no, not Hearts of Iron. It's not that abstract. It's more of a hex-based, turn-based strategy game. So if that's what you're looking for, if you're looking for more RTS than the old Dawn of War games, the Dawn of War, Soulstorm, and Dawn of War Dark Crusade, those are all RTS games, and there's some really big mods for those that add in missing factions and also expand the scope of the game. I believe they just came out with a remaster of all of those, so those should run just fine on current machines. So those would be some of the strategy games that I'd point out. He's gotten far better at building since, and he heard and apologized. Oh no, I was just giving him a hard time. I wasn't trying to be mean, but he doesn't need to apologize. I'm just trying to poke him a little. I hope I didn't make him feel bad. That was not my intention. All right, thanks, and cool models. Hey, thank you so much. Yeah, the community's got some really cool models. You're farming to him. I don't know if I feel good about that. All right, so these are Bungulator. Oh, somebody's a fan of the peanut. Oh, Bungulator. Here is your Ultramarine. Very, very nice. Mold lines. I see mold lines. That's okay. This is good. Nice, clean paint job. Not seeing a lot of splat going all over the place. Very, very nice. Very nice. Well done. So you've got a couple more angles here. Nice, clean, crisp white. Yeah, good job. Crispy painting is crispy painting helps a model look far more complete and far more refined than maybe it actually is. It just helps it look much better without having to do a whole lot of extra effort. So really nice. Very impressed with that. Another good angle. Excellent. Very nice. Thank you, Bungulator, for sharing. Appreciate you. All right, so we've got my first ever and only paint. Need tips on edge highlighting. I've got you. F is for Francisco. Very nice. So with edge highlighting, so when you're doing edge highlighting, use the side of your brush rather than the tip of your brush. So where can I, so let's take a look here. So if I'm going to do any edge highlighting, say on this bolter here, I might get my gray, and with edge highlighting you do want a brighter color than what your base is because you want this to be obvious. So I'm going to use a neutral gray here just as an example, and then I'm going to use the edge of my brush, not the tip of my brush. I'm going to use the edge of my brush and just very lightly run that across. I'm using almost no pressure. You see how I'm using just the edge of my brush here, and I'm not using very much pressure at all. So this is a really good way to practice your hand-eye coordination and your control. And don't be afraid to you know, if you mess up the edge highlighting, don't be afraid to go back over and paint over it again and try again. Like that's totally acceptable. Just don't have too much paint on your brush. Just have a little bit of paint on your brush, and then just be really light and delicate when you're painting. And just use the side of your brush as much as you possibly can. Your Discord name is Bungulator. Okay, I figured that was. I figured since you said that was your first painting. You a big fan of the Peanut? I am mostly a fan of the Peanut, except that he's a Black Templar fan. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No, just use light pressure and use the edge of your brush, and don't have too much paint on your brush. That will help you a lot with edge highlighting. And the lighter your touch, the least amount of pressure you're using, the more controlled your lines are going to be, because you're going to get, like down here where I got these fatter lines, I was using way too much pressure, and that caused the bristles to bend, and so more of their surface area was touching the model, as opposed to just a tiny small amount of their surface area was touching just that edge. That's why these are fatter. Especially this is fatter than up here. It's because I ended up using too much pressure here. So I can go back in with like a really dark gray, or I can go back in with black, and then I can neaten this up and make it, you know, I can neaten that up a little bit, but that's just more work. Love the positivity. It really drives me to paint more. Good. That's what we want. That's why I stream. I don't make money. Like, I don't make a living off of this. I make money here and there, but I don't do this for a living. I travel and I get to teach painting classes, and so I make some money there, but I don't do this for a living. I do this because, one, it encourages me to keep practicing. It encourages me to help, but it also, I want to be a source of inspiration and encouragement for other people getting into painting, and I want them to have as much fun and get the kind of relaxation that I get out of this. Now this model, this is from Miracle. Miracle. Okay, I'm probably not saying this. David. So David, Dart Mimis. Okay, I see you, Dart. I painted for 2 years now. I want to introduce myself. Well, my last finished project, the Lamenters Phobos Strike Team. Fantastic. Love the Lamenters. These are on Tuesday. 3 months. Managed to do my own yellow color scheme. Very proud of it. I hope you like it. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, fantastic, Bad Queen. Am I following you? No, I am now. The other teachers, I try to make sure to follow, especially if they're teaching, if they're doing any kind of teaching. Obviously, you don't have to do any teaching content, but I want to other people who teach mini painting. I like to make sure I'm following them. So fantastic, absolutely, no worries. Let's see. Absolutely joining the community. Hey, thank you so much. Thank you, sir. Definitely taking notes on my next guy. Oh, wonderful. To do the live stream and teach like you do. Go for it. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely go for it. We could always use more people streaming painting on all kinds of platforms, especially if they're frankly, if they're a woman, and if they're of any other kind of minority, then, you know, more representation. That's good. And, you know, as long as motivations are good, and I'm sure yours are fantastic. So, okay, let's take a look at these Lamenters. Love the base. That's really cool. Love the yellow. This is a really nice, rich, kind of mustardy yellow. Nice. Are you using the Goblin Hut stamps? David, are you using the Goblin Hut stamps for like the checkers and stuff? This looks kind of like their stamps. I could be wrong. How you doing? Oh, thank you. This looks great. Here's some more. Nice. Really cool. Love how rich this is. Love all the details you've ended up, you've made sure to give all of them. I really like it. You know, I'm really bad at this, but I'm planning on doing it with this guy. I really like it when Space Marines have all of their, have more symbols on them. It just makes them look, one, more militaristic, two, more pompous, because, I mean, they're Space Marines. But like the whole, like, I'm a big fan of Old Hammer, where there's like lots of like graffiti and things like that, and like slogans like kill spelled with one L and stuff like that on Space Marines. I really, in like checker patterns and things like that, I really like that. I like that look, and having the these symbols on here is really reminiscent of that. Oh, 40k Covenant proxy army. Oh, very cool. We'll take a look at that here after these guys. Oh, look at that checker pattern on the bolter. Very nice. Strapped together bolters. Giant purity seal. He's got a heck of a oath a moment there. These look great. Love the weathering. Really nice. Lamenters are always impressive when they're put together. Yeah, look at all of them together. These look great. That's awesome. Lamenters are always really impressive just because, one, yellow, right? Like just painting yellow. And these are painted really nice, but then the weathering and then the checker marks, all the checkers that are on a lot of Lamenters stuff is really, really well done. Botan Ken King. Oh, nice. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody for the follows. Thank you all for the gifts earlier. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the follows. They all really help. Really appreciate it. No, these look great. These look great, Dart Minis. Very nice. All right, let's go take a look at Bad Queen's stuff here. Let me switch back to painting really fast. Progress. Ooh, an engineer. Nice. Engineers are so adorable. These look great. Awesome. There's okay. Got all kinds of stuff to go through. Take a quick tour through all of these. I'm really liking how vibrant the colors are. Really good. A lot of your reds and oranges are super vibrant. The metallics look really nice and clean. Arbiter looks amazing. And we're not going to be able to go over every angle here, but let's start out with the top. All right, so here we got an engineer. You're so cute. Little adorable little lizard snail floaty dudes that are super hyper smart and very, very friendly. Reading a lot of the Halo books, and then like later on interacting with the engineers made me really happy. They're called engineers, right? Like I'm not misremembering that name, right? Am I getting that mixed up with Mass Effect? I hope I'm not. It's been a while, but love the glow effects. You're correct. Okay, thank you. Love the glow effects. Love the pale blue with the blended into the pink there. I like that a lot. Really good. The transition points are looking very organic. Nice job. Nice job. All right, here we've got one of the snipers. Hate these dudes, but this is very nice. The base looks very clean. Excellent. An elite with a sword. And a plasma rifle, if I remember right. Nice. Like I said, your oranges are really nice and punchy. Ah, this is cool. Really like the metallics here with the shading and all the texture in this. This looks really, really cool. Golden blend fluorescent really helps the color pops. Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. What'd you use for the metallics? Was this like another golden or another artist line, or did you like Turbo Dork or? I think I'm seeing. Did you use inks on this too? I'm seeing that kind of luster. But this is really nice. Viho True Metallics, then ink to shade. Okay, thought so. Yeah, inks tend to have a very distinctive look to them when they're used in shades. It looks really nice. Yeah, I need to try the Viho True Metallics. I keep hearing good things about this. Ah, man. I both love and hate these guys. Like, I loved fighting them, but the fact that they're colonies of worms creeped me out every time. But nice work, nice use of the fluoros here. Nice clean paint job. Love the extra unit markings with the freehand there. Looks great. Ah, Master Chief. Is this all the are these all from Mantic? Oh, thank you for the roses. I appreciate that. Are these all the Mantic models? I think they are. They look great. Mantic did a really good job with these. Very nice. Classic battle rifle. Ah, man, the Spartans they used it in Reach. Oh, it's the saddest. It's the saddest story, but it was so good. At least that's where I think these guys are from. I could be wrong. 3D, all 3D printed. Oh, wow. Really nice. That's impressive. These are really good 3D prints. I'm not seeing many layer lines at all. Really, really, really impressive. Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Yeah. ODST. Honestly, I think one of the best Halo games was ODST. Not just because it was right after the cancellation of Firefly, and it reconnected me to the crew of the Firefly again, which made me very happy, but also just having that perspective and seeing a lot of the stuff that happened at the back end, like the betrayal of the elites by the brutes, all of that stuff really helped flesh out the world. I thoroughly enjoyed ODST. That was one of the better games in my opinion. Those are from V3 Dart on Cult 3D. Nice. Nice. Yeah. Love this purple. Really, really, really representative of the Covenant purple. Like this. Really, really nice. Instantly recognizable. Very familiar. Giant plasma projector. Hysterical. This is awesome. Is he got sticky grenades and he's throwing the oh, man, he's throwing them with the sticky grenades in hand. That's the Atmosphere ODST is stuck with me. Absolutely. Resin 3D prints are amazingly detailed. If no support marks are visible, yeah, absolutely. F is for Franco, 100%. I'm just constantly surprised by it. I have a ton of them. Like I have a ton of really good 3D prints. But it's amazing how good they're getting. This is great. I love this. The atmosphere of this. This makes me really happy. Oh god, that poor little guy. I always feel bad for these guys. I always feel bad. I mean, yeah, they're gonna kill you. They're mean little bastards, but they're also just like they're so pathetic. I feel bad for them. I don't feel bad about the elites because the elites are honorable warriors, even though they're honorable warriors. I have great amount of respect for the elites, but I'll have no problem killing them. Brutes, I just actively dislike. I nothing honorable about them. I have no problem killing them. Yeah, really nice. Really impressive. Really nice prints. Like, look at that. Look at that red. Oh, love that red. Love the highlighting on it. Really nice, punchy, vibrant red. Really, really good. Love these highlights up here. That's just, it makes it look so shiny. And the Arbiter. Look at this. Look at this. So cool. Love this bronzy armor look. Really nice. Excellent. All right, so we've just run through, I'm pretty sure we just ran through another break, but we had so many cool things to look at that I did not want to stop, and I lost track, and that's a-okay. So, but I do need to take a break. So we are going to set things aside for about 3 to 5 minutes and take a break. I'm gonna refill my water, gonna use the bathroom. This is the miniature we've been working on. We'll keep working on this a little bit, but then we'll come back here in just a second. Let me make sure. Wish I had ward. Yeah. I wish I had the space and ventilation for resin printer. I do too, Riley. I honestly do. But if I did, my backlog would be so much worse than it is now. Like it would be irredeemably bad. But like if I had my druthers, I would be running a print house. I'd be printing stuff for all kinds of people. Highly recommend the small sand sticks and resin for resin prints. 800 to 1200 range really cleans. Yeah, absolutely. So what I do, I make mine. I have coffee stir sticks. I've got the grit here. I have coffee stir sticks, and I go to Home Depot and I buy the small packs of sandpaper in whatever grits I need. And what I'll do is I'll take something like this. I'll take one of the sheets, and you get multiple sheets in here, but I'll take a big long sheet like this, and I will put glue on the back, and then place sanding, like the coffee stir sticks along it. You can buy like 1,000 coffee stir sticks at like a restaurant supply store for super cheap. And so I'll just make a couple sheets worth of those, slice them all out, and then I've got them here, and it's a little flexible, so it's not super rigid, but it's rigid enough, and it works for most of my purposes. And I've got these in 800, 1000, 1200, multiple different 1500, multiple different grits. So I just make a whole bunch, and then might take me an afternoon to make like 100. So that's what I usually do for those. And those that type of sandpaper you can wet polish, wet sand. You can also just dry sand, and you can just get rid of all kinds of different stuff through that. Yeah, absolutely. I hope that works out for you. Okay, we're going to set this guy right here, and then we're going to set him aside for a moment. We're going to go take a break because I really need to use the little boy's room and get more water. We've been going for a while now, so thank you all so much for being here for a second. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
And you play with
Alright, we are back. Thank y'all for sticking around. If you did, if you didn't, no worries. Have a fantastic rest of your night. Even though now you can't hear me. That's a-okay. Well, welcome back in, everybody. Thank you for giving me a chance to have a little break there. We had a fantastic community spotlight. Went through so many different things. Lots of different projects people have completed and tons of projects that people are working on. So I'm excited to see how those continue on and how those mature. All right, so what's the next big thing we really need to work on here? We really need to start working on this arm, and then obviously the black areas on the model here. And so we're gonna work on this. We're gonna work on this right here. Oh, thank you so much for the super fan box. One viewer can open that. Very cool. Like it's like Dungeon Crawler Carl. Not gonna like suddenly explode in like a massive bloody mess of some sort, am I? I hope not. That would suck. Alright, so if the light's coming from this direction, then I want the main highlight to be on the upper portion, but facing this direction. Hope you guys enjoyed the music. I've been having Electro Lush on repeat a lot lately. Really been enjoying that. One can only hope not. Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to some people about this earlier, and I have mentioned it on the stream before, but since Peacock picked up Dungeon Crawler Carl for a show, I'm really curious how they're going to approach that. If it's going to be live action, it's really going to be like on the level of violence is going to be like on the level of The Boys very easily, or in order to really reflect the type of crazy stuff that's happening in the books, the violence level is going to be insane. And it's going to be interesting to see how they approach that. If it is going to be more animated, I'm wondering if they're going to go the hyper violence or if they're going to go more campy. Because as much as I'm not a massive fan of hyper violence myself, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but like I don't watch shows for the violence. Actually, one of the reasons I avoided The Boys is just because of how violent it was, and that I'm just not a big fan of supers in general. But the violence is in my opinion, such an incredibly important part of Dungeon Crawler Carl. Just the absolute ridiculous level of cruelty and violence that people have to subject themselves and the people around them to in order to continue surviving in the dungeon I think is a very, very important part of the emotional impact of Dungeon Crawler Carl. So I'm hoping they don't neuter it too much. Good Friday to you, Stay Bearded. Hey, thank you, Thotimus Prime. I hope you're doing well. Good Friday to you as well. I was just sharing a little bit of my thoughts on the what the Dungeon Crawler Carl TV show on Peacock may look like, and kind of stream of consciousness there. while we're working on some reflections in the armor. What have you been up to? You been working on anything? Speaking of shows, if you guys are into mini painting, you need to go watch, in my opinion, you need to go watch Miniature Masters by on Squidmar's channel. They did an incredibly good job with that first episode. And it's, imagine like Face Off or Ink Masters or Great British Bake Off, but for miniature painting. That's what they've done. And the mini painters they got are some incredibly talented mini painters. A couple of them who are incredibly talented mini painters who stream here on Twitch too, and other platforms, but mainly Twitch. But man, they did such a good job. Everybody who was there deserved to be there. They are some of the best painters out there, and I'm sure that it's also because they were able to go over to Sweden for a few weeks and do the filming. So having that kind of availability is not for everybody, but the people they got to go over absolutely deserve to be there. They were really, really, really talented painters. But I was so incredibly impressed by the level of quality of the filming and the production and the scoring and just the camera work. It's like it's something I would expect to see on network TV. Like it was just that level. Really, really impressive. That was fun to watch. Yeah. I want to start drawing again, but I feel like I'll drop too many clams on paper and pencil sets. No, get going. Get going. Just start out with the basics. Do something. Maybe ask someone else to like, hey, I need you to pick this stuff up for me. Here's the money, and then they'll be the ones who are responsible for getting the stuff, and then you won't be tempted at the art store. Really humbled you. I totally understand that. Like, there's some incredible painters on there who, like, I can only hope to get some close to their level someday. But that's the goal. That's the goal. Goal is to get there someday. But I also don't have the level of hunger that like some people like AC Miniatures has for competition painting. Like I want a competition paint, but I'm not obsessive about it. Whereas someone like AC is, and it obviously shows because he's just so good. I don't have that level of obsessiveness to me, which is, it's just how it is. So I will just continue to plod along and continue to improve and encourage other people to continue to improve. And, if I get there, I get there. Otherwise, I will do everything that I can to be a positive influence. An encouraging influence, and I think that is pretty darn important. I think that's a good thing to do, even if I don't get to where I want to be. It's definitely very inspiring. Yeah, I definitely recommend. I recommend if anybody's interested in mini painting or just seeing a little bit more about like high level mini painting and some of the discussions that happen in the judging and things like that. Unfortunately, they don't go into too much detail about, like, they don't give a whole lot of feedback on a lot of the judging, which is unfortunate. I would have liked to seen a lot more, but I also understand that their formatting really wouldn't allow it. And honestly, I don't think the purpose of the show is to be instructional on what judges are looking for, not in that strict of a sense. But I would have liked to seen a little bit more feedback on the what pieces did well and what pieces, where they did well, where they could have improved. I would have liked to seen more of that. But that's also just not the purpose of the show. The purpose of the show is to kind of entertain rather than just... There's some slight education in there too, but that's really not the purpose. It's like the purpose of Ink Masters or the purpose of Great British Bake Off isn't to educate. It is to entertain. They're entertainment shows. So that style of show is for entertainment. And yeah, you learn some, but it's not their goal. So I get that, but it would have been nice. I'll admit, when I first got into the hobby, I started with speed contrast paints, and you inspired me to learn how to paint properly. Oh, that's great, Feeling Objective. Please do not abandon your contrast paints, your speed paints. There is nothing wrong with them, okay? I don't want anyone to feel badly for using those. Just be aware of their limitations, because their limitations are that you're not really going to learn how to control light, how to control and paint quote unquote properly, i.e. you're not going to learn how to control light. You're not going to learn how to paint in shadows, things like that, because the speed paint does a lot of that for you, and that's its purpose. Its purpose is to get paint on stuff fast and to look decent at it. So it completely depends on what your reason for painting is. And yeah, just stick with your speed paints for stuff, and then start experimenting with regular painting if you want to push beyond that. There's nothing wrong with either one of those. But I'm glad I had hopefully a positive influence on your decision there. I hope that it was encouraging, and I didn't make you feel bad or anything. Because the last thing I want is that. I don't want to shame anybody into changing how they paint. But I do want to encourage people to expand their toolbox, to have more options, and not just feel trapped by one particular set of possibilities. I don't know if that makes sense. I really like the accessibility of speed paints due to having an 8-month-old. 100%. Yeah, no, they 100% have their purpose. Bad Queen, once again, if I didn't say it before, thank you so much for all the roses. I really appreciate all the gifts. Everyone, thank you for all the gifts. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for all the follows. Thank you. 7.4 thousand likes. My God. I don't think I've had that many likes on my TikTok in forever, so I very much appreciate it. You're amazing, deserve it all. Thank you. Thank you. I'll try not to let that go to my head. Never made you feel bad? Good. That's the last thing I want. Let's see. Okay, so we got some of that done. I do want to let this dry a little bit because I don't want to keep glazing. One thing when you're painting, if you're doing lots of layers and stuff, make sure every now and then to take a break and let things fully cure and fully paint or fully dry. Because if you keep overworking an area, it is possible for you to use too much pressure and tear a layer of paint below with what you're doing right then, because maybe that paint didn't fully dry, and maybe it's mostly dry and not entirely. If you overwork a spot and keep brushing on a spot, you can tear those previous layers of paint, and fixing that is it creates this big dark spot. And fixing that is a pain in the butt, because now you've got a physical tear. You've got like a film of paint built up and creating clumps on the surface. So every now and then it helps to just maybe sit back a little bit, go work on a different part of the model, and then just let that area you were working on, let it be for a bit. Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be. Let it be. Okay. We're gonna take a glaze of our neutral gray, and you see how rough this transition is here. I want to take some neutral gray and just really lightly glaze that. And what a glaze does is it creates a transition. It creates a gradient between one color and the next. And the reason it works is because when you start your brush stroke, that's where you leave the least amount of pigment, and where you end your brush stroke is where the most amount of pigment is left, especially on really thin paints like this. So you start your brush stroke where you want the blend to start, and you end it where by painting into the color you're blending into. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but you're going from one into the other, and that helps create that gradient. And it's basically very, very, very thin paint with very small amounts of very small brush strokes is what you tend to do, just to get a bit of a blend, kind of softening that transition a bit. And you can go in between colors, do the glaze the dark into the light and the light into the dark. Sometimes you'll have to go back and forth a few times to get any kind of a smoother blend, and that's okay. Look at that marvelous beard. Studio Dogaby, what is up, my dude? Welcome back. How are you doing? It's been forever. I think I saw you at Adepticon. I think you were pretty busy when I dropped by, or when I was walking by. But I hope you're doing well. It reminds me, I still have the mini of the little girl and her dog, her unicorn dog. I still have that floating in the back of my head of what I want to do with that. I've read the comic multiple times, but I still haven't painted the model. I need a booth buddy. I'm an old man and my bladder needs breaking. I miss a lot of the folks on my table. Yeah, I totally understand that. Booth buddies are very, very helpful. I don't work a full-on booth, but at Origins I work the paint intake, and if we don't have multiple people to like watch over it, we never get to go get food, we never get to use the bathroom. It gets to be a disaster. So having a booth buddy or some form of relief is super important. If I need to paint an army to put on the table to play them, I will absolutely use speed paint. Yeah, absolutely, Riley. Yeah, 100%. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Speed paint has its uses. Contrast paint has its uses. They have their purpose, and there's no shame in using them for those purposes. 100%. And you can get really good results with those too. Like if you look at if you look up heavy contrast, That was a series of videos that I think Juan Hidalgo did on YouTube in recreating like GW box art with contrast, and he did a fantastic job. And there's some great tutorials on how to elevate your contrast game with from him. So there's nothing wrong with using them at all. It all depends on the purpose. Like, they all have a legitimate purpose. I've commissioned Epic Duck to sculpt one of my Magnificent Seven. Oh, that would be cool. Oh, well, if you stop by, I've got 5 new minis you can have to paint, and if my Kickstarter goes, 7 more by Adepticon. Wonderful. I have my hotel and everything for Adepticon all set and ready to go. Yeah, I'll happily swing by. That would be really cool. Thank you. That's very generous of you. Is everything else going okay? Are you doing any big projects lately? Booked the Hyatt this year, so I'm close to Artist Alley. I did too. I was my roommates and I were very lucky to get the Hyatt again. Yeah, the Hyatt was awesome, especially the when Goth Dad did his DJ session up in the penthouse. There was a goth night at I think it was Friday night at the Hyatt. I'm hoping they do that again. That was awesome. You were there? Okay, yeah. I was there pretty late. I was just there for a couple of hours. Being an introvert, I have a limited budget of emotional energy at those types of events, but man, it was cool. It was a lot of fun. I'd been following Goth Dad on TikTok for a while, and then when I saw that he had a show, I was like, oh my god, what are the chances of having a show at Adepticon? And then I talked to him, I was like, wow, how did you get here? He's like, oh no, I'm here for Adepticon. He and his wife came, and he just contacted the Goth Barge, the company that put the event together, and it's like, oh dude, we'll just throw your own DJ set. It's like, yeah, do you guys have a show I can come in on or anything like that, or guest on? They're like, dude, we'll just throw your own set. And so that's how that happened. And that was really cool. Got a pic of me with Baphomet. Nice. I was hanging out with a friend. I really only see at Adepticon, and they were like, we're going to a party. I was dressed like a Van Gogh painting, and get there and it's all goth. Perfect. I mean, perfect. No, I had a, oh man, that was a ton of fun. That was really cool. I didn't even know it was going to be there, and I just was not dressed. I was not dressed up. I was in my black hoodie and stuff like that, but that's about it. I looked more like a crust punk kid at the time. Had I known, I might have taken some more stuff. I'll have to ping Goth Dad and see if he's doing another show. So if he is, I'm gonna have to bring a proper outfit. Although everybody there was super friendly, or didn't like. There were so many people there in just all kinds of different clothing, all different types of get-ups. There was no snootiness about any of it. It was really nice. Super, super cool. You bring new horns? Nice. I'll have to let you know. I'll ping him, and I'll let you know what he says. I know he's going because I asked him if he got a room for Adepticon. He said, yeah, I'm totally going. I just don't know if he's doing a set. Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we are on the Twitch. We are link friendly, as long as it's terms of service safe. As long as it's Twitch TOS safe. Okay. Give me a second, I'll go take a look at that. Yeah, that's not a bad reflection on the arm. It's pretty good. I think all the major parts of him now have, except down here in the lower torso, I think all the rest of the major parts have their reflections in place. Let's see this. Ooh! Those are some impressive horns. Those are gonna look fantastic. Okay. Alright, so next thing is, I think I want the metal bits on the knife, the combat blade, the knife. I want those to be gold-ish as well, just because that's gonna cause them to stand out. So I tend to, when I'm doing color, like temperature contrast, I tend to alternate between cool and warm. And right now, so much of the model is neutral or cool in its temperature, that I want to add more warmth here and there where I can. So we're gonna base coat these in dark umber so we can do gold. Gonna try and get them obsidian-like. Oh yeah, that'll be awesome. I'm gonna let that dry, and here ¿Dónde están mi rojo? Rojo. I can't roll my R's. I can unreliably roll my R's, and it's so frustrating. Like, there are times where I can roll my R's really well, and there are other times where it's just like blah, 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 blah. Does that make sense? Blah, 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 blah. That's what it feels like. Where'd the mahogany go? Mahogany? Here we go. Perfect. By the way, I've been blending wrong. You just taught me what with markers you flick to go light. So the darkest ink is at the origin, the end of the stroke, and I've been trying to brush like that. Oh yeah. No, with brushes, the beginning of the brush stroke is the least amount of pigment, because that's also where the least amount of pressure on the bristles are. And without that pressure, the capillary action doesn't work as it doesn't. There's not as many of the bristles touching the surface, and so and that means that the capillary action's working on a smaller surface area. So, you know, when you start your brush stroke, you've got the least amount of pressure. When you end your brush stroke, that's when you've got the most amount of pressure, just because of the physical action. So you have the most amount of paint on the model. So yeah, I absolutely see how that would be flipped both ways. Good, I'm glad that's helpful. All right, so I'm going to start this red gem with some mahogany here in the chest. Mahogany. kind of a diamond-shaped gem. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I was lucky enough to find an article that shows a whole lot of different wolf spear iconography. Right here. This is Warhammer 40k fandom.fandom.com wiki wolf spear. And there's all these different types of these are all veteran symbols. These are all company symbols. So let me think here. I'm assuming 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All black is for the scout squads. I don't know what this is. But I like this this V, this black V, because that's gonna work really well on the knee pad here. So that's what we're gonna use. We're gonna use that, and if it's right, great. If it's not, oh well. So I'm gonna start here. Boop. Just really lightly. I've had two lines, and I'm gonna thicken that up. Make it thick. Cool. So we'll start that bit there. Now, let's get out some burnt red and continue work on the gem and this. Oh, I got some paint on my brush. Okay, so the way gems tend to work is light hits up top and then is reflected down through them and hits the inside. So underneath, with round gems, that's usually how this works. This is a four-faceted gem, so this might be a little different. So I'm going to start highlighting the bottom of that facet and then the bottom of this facet on the opposite side of the light source that I'm just going to choose arbitrarily to favor. And then I'm going to have a straight line there. This will calm down as it dries. I don't know how well that's going to work out. We shall see. Let's see if I can zoom in any more. Whoop. There we go. Okay. So now we'll take our red. Now with the... This is where the highlight would be if it's going to travel all the way up down. So I know I need brighter red up in here, and then it'll fade down. So I don't want it to... And then in here, the highlight's going to be right through there. Okay. Everybody doing okay? Hopefully y'all are having a good night. Appreciate y'all sticking around. For those of you who are commenting, really appreciate you. Everybody who's lurking, absolutely super appreciate y'all. Everybody, I hope everybody's relaxing and having a good time. Relaxing on this beautiful Friday. If anybody has any questions about Warhammer or Necromunda or anything like that, please do not hesitate to ask. Whether it's lore or painting, doesn't matter. If you're asking me about what's the best way to play 11th edition, I do not know. I have not played 40k or Age of Sigmar in years, so unfortunately I can't help there. But painting, stuff like that, that I can help with. Probably. I think that looks pretty good for now. I think this needs to be punched up some more vibrancy here, but we will continue to work on that. Now it's going to take multiple layers to punch that up. I've got another break happening here in just a couple minutes. I'm going to snooze it to give us some more time before we're forced into a break here. It's okay. It looks okay. Doesn't look amazing, but it looks okay. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some of this pale yellow. Pale yellow is a great color. Pale yellow, ice yellow, those are great colors to use to generate highlights without going too overly, without using too much white, which can make things go very pastel. Using an off-white yellow can have a really kind of slightly mitigating effect on how bright something ends up being a highlight. We are going a little pink here. That's okay, because I do want the gem to look that looks okay. Still learning non-metallic metal, and seeing your work really helps me. Oh, good, Bad Queen. Yeah, non-metallic metal is a lot of fun. I am planning on doing some TikTok videos on kind of the fundamentals of non-metallic metal, just kind of how I approach it. I do have multiple videos up of painting different types of non-metallic metal, and just the recipes that I use, but I don't have any up that explain kind of the theory. I do plan on doing a series. Unfortunately, it's going to have to be a series of videos, but I am going to be doing a series of videos on non-metallic metal theory and just kind of how I'm approaching it. And there's different ways to approach it, but just kind of like what I've learned by smashing my head against non-metallic metal for a couple of years. So hopefully that'll be helpful too when I get that out. But in the meantime, I'm happy to explain to anybody who wants to know or anybody has questions. Happy to explain about it. Non-metallic metal, tabletop non-metallic metal is one of the classes that I teach, and despite the fact that I teach the class, I don't hide that knowledge away from anybody, because for me, classes are about access to the teacher and having in real time feedback on what you're doing. The information on the technique, I think, should be basically free, basically available regardless if it's in a class session or not. It should be there, accessible. But if you want like that real-time feedback, that's what you're paying a class for generally. But otherwise, I'm always happy to answer questions about anything that I'm doing. And I know people hate part 2s on TikToks and things like that. It's just, there's no way to conveniently and easily put all of that information in a single TikTok. That would be crazy. That'd be so difficult. No one would watch it. So take a couple minutes here and there to, talk about, hey, here's the first principle, here's the second principle, what it looks like. Here's what it all looks like put together. Having a couple videos for that, covering all of that, and try to release them all in like subsequent days or the same day. Putting them all in the same day would be difficult because it'll kill the algorithm, and we're all subject to the almighty algorithm on the TikToks and the YouTubies and the Instagrams. But try to get them all out in a reasonable amount of time. Knowledge should be shared. I never charge for teaching. I love seeing people surpass me. Yeah, I totally understand that. I do charge for teaching just because I teach at conventions, so I'm going to travel to the convention. And I do, if I'm going to give one-on-one stuff there, I do want to be compensated for that, but the knowledge itself, I'm happy to make freely available. I just I'm not interested in traveling halfway across the country, paying thousands of dollars to spend all my time in classes and not be compensated for that. But different strokes for different folks. I'll never look down on anybody for doing things differently than me, and that's A-OK. Hey, Paragon Studios, how are you doing? Jim looks good. Hey, thank you, Jake. Yeah, I appreciate that. Hope you're all doing well. I think we're doing okay here. We're a little over our normal time, but that's okay. We've made lots of really good progress. Paragon, I saw you working on something earlier today. How is your current project? How's that going? Trying to finish Wazdaka? Nice, nice. Has that been a fun project? The orcs all look really cool. It's just... Mad Sam's gonna kill me, but I just don't find orcs that interesting. Mad Sam's gonna kill me for saying that. She's gonna be so disappointed in me, but I don't find orcs that interesting. So I didn't get those, but the work you were doing looks really nice. Yeah, Paragon does fantastic work. One of the mini painters here on TikTok and Instagram and all over one of the mini painters to look up to out there. Tell you, we've got some really, really good talent on the TikToks and the Twitch. Nice. Very, very inspiring painters. Paragon, do you have any competitions coming up or anything? Fun, yes. I'm struggling with the finishing touches. I gotcha. Thanks a lot. Of course. You have any competitions coming up anytime soon? What chapter? Oh, this is Wolf Spears. So it's a Primaris specific. It was established out of the Unnumbered Sons during the Indominus Crusade by Gulliman, and it is a successor chapter to the Space Wolves, or was accepted as a Space Wolf successor chapter because all these Primaris have the Space Wolf gene seed base, but the Space Wolves were not super happy about it at first because they weren't culturally Space Wolves. They didn't come from Fenris, so it took a little while for them to agree to work with them and teach them the ways of Fenris, and the Primaris Marines, like the Wolfspear, they had to undergo some trials and learn about and adopt the cultures of Fenris before they were acknowledged as Wolfkin. But they were, eventually. Maybe I'll try some Golden Demon EU edition. The one I won is getting old. 2022 last French edition. Oh! Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Shoot for it. It'll be a great challenge because, man, it's been... every year Golden Demon is more and more impressive. More and more competitive. So... give it a shot. See how you do. Yeah, they're pretty cool. Pretty sweet. All right, I'm going to do this one last snooze, which is going to give us about 5 minutes. So I'm going to it's going to give us 7 minutes. So we've got 7 minutes to do a little bit more work, and then we're going to call it for the night. I don't want to force you all through a series of ads on some of the platforms and then immediately send you off to somebody else. That's not fair. So we're going to do a little bit of work here, and then we're going to end for the night. Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed your time here, and hope to see you back on Tuesday when we stream again. I stream every Tuesday and Friday, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we usually go for about 3 hours. And work on all kinds of stuff. Then I'm not sure what we're gonna work. Actually, I do know what we're gonna work on next. The next thing we're gonna work on are some models for a game called Arsenal, which is think Titanfall, but skirmish miniature game. This is one of the pilots. He's primed all black, so we've got a Titan pilot here. And the game is called Arsenal. So we're gonna be painting him next, I think, and then we've got some other stuff. We still have to paint Kerrigan, but I want to get the Arsenal painted first. So we've got Kerrigan all on her base here. Got her ready to go. So I'm looking forward to painting her. So I think those are the next 2 things we're going to work on stream after this guy. Excuse me. At the end of the month, we are going to do the drawing for the Woolman-Doot miniature giveaway. So if anybody's interested in checking out those adorable little woodland woodland creature and moss dwarf miniatures we painted during June. Check out the Woolman Dude giveaway on Discord if you're interested in joining that. There are instructions to join that on the Discord. Doesn't cost anything. If you win and you're outside of the US, you will have to pay the postage. Last time I did one of these and I shipped something to Australia, it was $50. I cannot do that. But if you're outside of the US and you want to enter, feel free, but be aware you will have to cover shipping. Otherwise, you could just, you could just go to the website, the Woolman Dude website, and just buy the STLs and print them yourself. There's that too. These are all STL miniatures. We've had a couple people grab the STLs and start working on their own. I do have some more Woolman Dude miniatures on the way. That we'll be painting, a couple monsters that look really cool, so we'll be doing that for Myconid minis as well. Any tips on learning how to blend layers together? Yeah, I think the biggest thing is learning paint consistency. But even with honestly, learning paint consistency is always something important that you're going to want to learn. But even easier than that is just learning to create mixes in between the colors you have. And I don't mean like, mixing brand new colors or anything like that. I mean, if you've got these two reds right here, right? These are very different. Right? These are very different reds. And if you paint one on top of the other, you're obviously going to see that blend, right? So the thing you should practice is, because if you create multiple mixes of those colors in between those colors, then when you're ready to paint that transition, you can create mixes that are in between those two. And the more mixes you have that's in between those two, the more layers you're going to have to do, but the less of a visual jump there's going to be between each layer. So if we've got 3 different layers here, we can start with this, then do this, then do this, and it will be much less of a fast jump in between those. But we can also add additional layer steps in between these two, and this is something you have to learn. You have to learn to visually see where things are in between these two. So this is almost, God, I need more of this. There we go. So this one right here is in between these two. You can see it's darker than this, but it's lighter than this. It's darker than this one, it's lighter than this one. So it can sit in between those. So now I can do 4 layers. And if I want to do 5 layers, take that over there and just do a little bit of this. And now I have a color here that is darker than this, but it's lighter than this. So now I can do 5 layers. And if I did 5 layers here, then there's even more of a smooth blend in between each one of those. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make it where each jump between color is smaller than if you had you want each jump to be smaller in between each layer. That way the eye visually blends them together, and the optical illusion blends things together for you. Does that make sense? So the more you become comfortable with learning how to create intermediate mixes in between 2 colors, the easier it is going to be for you to create multi-layer blends. And layering's the easiest way to blend. It just takes a lot of layers, but it takes fewer than glazing, and it's not as mechanically precise as wet blending. Now, you should still learn to wet blend, and you should still learn to glaze, because all of these things can work together, because you can wet blend really roughly and then glaze to smooth things out, or you can do like 5 layers and then glaze to smooth things out even more, or you can just blend with glazes in between 2 very distinct colors, and that'll work too. But yeah, you this is what you want to practice. You want to practice seeing the differences between these clearly, because there's very little difference between these when they're all together right here, but you can see that this is darker than this is darker than this is darker than this, and this is darker than this, and this is lighter than this is this is lighter than this is lighter than this is lighter than this, and this is lighter than this. So you can make a gradient out of these. Man, I'm not gonna lie, you just helped me a bunch when it comes to mixing and blending. Oh, wonderful! I'm colorblind a bit, so it makes a little bit difficult, but this helped explain and help me to tell. Oh, awesome! Yeah, focus on the values. Focus on the values, and if you choose 2 colors and you're glazing, you don't have to worry about the hue shifting very much. Just focus on telling the difference between the values and or the brightness levels. Do you know what I mean by the brightness values? Because that's a technical term and not everybody's familiar with it, so I just want to make sure. For colorblind people, matching your paint quality can yes, absolutely. Also, adding a transparent glaze over it can help if you front like your steps. Yes. Yeah, and when I'm talking about values, I'm talking about, oh god, the ads went. I got distracted. I'm so sorry. When I'm talking about values, I'm talking about grayscale values. So if you look at a color wheel, you may see a list of, let's see, color wheel with value scale. Let me pull up a copy here. Hopefully this will be visible. Open image. So a lot of color wheels will have a grayscale value on the inside of the curve. And this is what we're talking about when we say brightness value. The highest value is white, value 1. The highest value, value 10, is the darkest. The lowest value, value 1, is white. Most value scales are 7 to 10 values, and it's just a way of comparing brightness between 2 colors. So when you're making those mixes, you are looking at differences between those values. I think like tons of the colors, almost the shade going lighter. Yes. Hey, who just raided? Sorry, I was in the middle of something there. Who just raided in? Dota Chess. Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome on in, everybody. Thanks for being here. We were just talking a little bit of color theory and blending. Gotta go. Thank you for all the company, people. Hey, thank you, Bad Queen. Have a wonderful rest of your night. I hope to see you in the future. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for all the gifts and the likes. Really appreciate it. All right. So, Dodo, how was your stream? How was your stream? What were you working on? What were you doing? Thank you. Welcome on in, everybody. If you've not been here before, my name is Ryan. I'm the Useless Wizard. Welcome to my study. We're here in the Great Library of Magic, just hanging out after hours. There are students, obviously you can hear them in the background. There's students still reading and researching for their classes at the Great School of Magic, and we're just chilling in here next to the fire, painting some tiny little plastic people and talking about all kinds of nerdy stuff. We've been working on this Wolf Spear Primaris Space Marine for a little bit, and we have been having a good time with that. Hello, good evening. It was good just painting a sunset landscape. Ooh, very nice. You like the sound of the fire? Thank you, thank you. It's nice and relaxing. I enjoy music. I enjoy music quite a bit, but I often, when I'm trying to focus, I find it very distracting. So I ended up just going with like a more ambient soundscape, and I figure the fire for my study and the turning of pages for a magical library is kind of appropriate. So hopefully it's nice and cozy for everybody. If anybody has any questions about miniature painting in general, or Warhammer, or Necromunda, any of those types of games, or just, painting minis, feel free to ask. If you like shows like Ink Master or other similar shows, the first episode of a miniatures focused one was just released on YouTube last Wednesday. It's called Miniature Masters. So if you look up Miniatures Masters on YouTube, you will get the first episode, which is 45 minutes long. First episode of a Great British Bake Off / Ink Masters / Face Off type of show, featuring some really, really talented miniature painters from around the world. And man, it was an absolute blast to watch. It was really, really good. So if you're interested in that, I'd go check out Miniature Masters. Otherwise, just feel free to hang out, chill with the rest of us, and you are welcome to be here. Am I still off screen? I went off screen. I'm zoomed in so much that I'm a little easy to go off screen here. Okay. I'll let that dry. Come in here and add a little specular highlight. I want this to be pretty light, because I don't want this to be super shiny. This is more of a undersuit, ribbed undersuit here, but I still want it to reflect light. I really need to get into landscape painting and stuff like that, because there's a lot of backdrops people are using for competitive miniature painting to help set the mood for a scene. So I can give you an example here in just a second of something that could probably benefit from a backdrop, but I've never been good at canvas or digital painting. So it's a new skill. So this is a miniature that is on a decorative plinth that kind of sets it in a scene, but a backdrop, like a piece of plastic art or some other form of rigid backdrop on the background with him in, it would help set him in a more detailed scene than just what's happening on the base and on him in terms of ambient lighting and the like. So that's definitely something that I want to dive into more. I just need to make the time to sit down and do more canvas painting or flat painting. So it could be very, very, very useful, but also I've tried to do it in the past and I've just never been good at it. And it's never really grabbed me. For some reason, painting tiny little plastic army men is what has made me the most excited about painting. I don't know why. It just Just is my particular flavor of spiciness. But doing the backdrop, that could relate to it enough to make me really engaged. There's a good question here. Let's see. Gotta go to bed late, but thanks for the help a lot. I'm gonna find my program. Okay, excellent. Have a good one, Gunter. Do you have a favorite Adeptus Mechanicus unit? Ooh. The riders. I like those guys a lot. The ones that are riding on the cyber, the giant cyber lion dog horse things. I like those. Those are really cool. They're nice, dynamic. They've got really cool revolvers, stuff like that. Other than those guys, I'm just gonna say one of my favorites is also the silliest, the dude with the telescoping legs, the Go-Go Gadget legs. I can't remember his name, but he makes me happy. Need to mix some more of this. Those are some awesome sculpts. I want to paint some up someday. Yeah, they're really cool. They're very, very cool. That's the problem with Warhammer in 40K and Age of Sigmar and stuff. They've all got so many really cool sculpts, and there's simply not enough time to paint all of them. Even if you've bought all the ones that you think are the coolest, there's just not enough time to paint them all. Believe me, I've bought a lot of them and had to sell them because I was like, I'm never gonna get to this. Simply never gonna get to it. A little bit of blending in here. I'm gonna darken some of this a little bit. Okay. Little bit that needs to happen here. Soften that out a little bit. Da, 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 da. Right, that could use some more refinement, but that's starting to look pretty reflective compared to everything else. Yeah, I think we're gonna stop here for tonight. We've been working on this guy for 3.5 hours. Made a lot of good progress, a lot of good details. Still got a lot more to do, but he is definitely upping in quality overall. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. I very much appreciate it. We're gonna see if anybody else is active. It's pretty late at night. Let's see if anybody else is out there over on the yeah, Paintwater Smalley is going. I just told him incoming.
Buckle up, boys and girls. I feel a disturbance. Got a calls himself a useless wizard.
All right. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. Those of you who are on Twitch, over on TikTok, thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. I very much appreciate you being here. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you all for all the follows on all the different channels. I really appreciate y'all being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. I did not mute him.
It doesn't exactly fit on
Where is that?
Crap.
There we go. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening or wonderful rest of your weekend. And until next time, remember that painting is good for the soul. Have a good night, everybody.